Hey everybody, Ben Clapper here, Director of Louisiana Right to Life. So happy to be here with you today, coming from our office here in New Orleans. And today I'm so blessed to be here with two team members of Louisiana Right to Life who do such a great job defending life and helping moms in Louisiana. And today we're going to be talking about a difficult but such an important topic. You may have heard about it in the news, definitely both local and national news right now. It's been pitting the governor of New York against our pro-life governor Jeff Landry and our Attorney General Liz Murrill. And Louisiana once again is in the middle of the national discussion about the pro-life cause, about fighting for life. And this time it's centered around the dangerous issue of abortion pills and how they're being shipped and sold online with no questions asked. And what happens is it led to on January 31st, the announcement of an indictment out of West Baton Rouge Parish of an abortion doctor and her business in New York for violating Louisiana law. Well, today I have with me Louisiana Right to Life's Communication Director, Sarah Zagorski, and Louisiana Right to Life's Policy Director and Attorney, Erica Inzina. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys.
Thanks for having us here.
Absolutely. Well, Sarah, why don't I get started with you? Maybe if you can tell everyone just a little bit about the facts of this case, what happened, what's going on.
Yeah, on January 31st, we were heartbroken when we found out the news about this young girl who her mother evidently purchased these abortion pills online from a New York abortion business. The pills were mailed to her home, and she took the pills under what looks like severe coercion. And actually, the DA of West Baton Rouge called this forced abortion because this young girl did not want to have an abortion. She even had a gender party planned for her child. She was looking forward to and excited about the birth of her baby, but instead she had a medical emergency after ingesting the pills, called 911, went to the hospital where it was found out that it was a coercion abortion case. And instead of having a baby, now she's dealing with the grief of the loss of her baby every single day. And of course, we see this in the news all over the place. Unfortunately, in New York, where it's publicized as just a mother trying to help her daughter, when the facts of the case are quite grave. She was a vulnerable person in the situation. The daughter was a vulnerable person in the situation, being coerced into the abortion decision.
Yeah, well, Sarah, one thing that just is that, like you said, she had a gender reveal party planned to share with her friends and family the gender of her unborn child. And that child no longer is living, right?
Right.
That baby's dead, and we'll never get to experience the joys and blessings of that child. And most tragically, that mother never will have that chance. And it just rips my heart out that this poor girl was coerced into having this abortion. It's just tragic what happened.
Well, and the DA of West Baton Rouge, who said too, that this abortion physician in New York didn't even like do a Zoom call with the mother who was essentially forcing this young girl to have an abortion, and that just highlights the dangers of these pills, right? It shows that women who are in precarious circumstances, predators or abusers, often get their hands on these drugs, and what happens is young girls are the victims, minors are the victims, and women in domestic violence situations are the victims all the time, every single day in Louisiana.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, you just go online and order the abortion pill, and they're shipped to the house. Supposedly, this doctor, which it didn't even take a doctor to ship these pills, it could have just been anybody because she did no doctoring anywhere to make sure that there weren't any risk factors for this young woman. Did she have possibly symptoms of an ectopic pregnancy? Because if you take these abortion pills and there's an ectopic pregnancy, that could be really, really bad for the pregnant mother. So just another sign that these abortion pills are just being shipped around, and states like New York don't care. And for them, it's all about abortion all the time. And it's fine if a doctor in New York to them wants to ship these abortion pills, no matter whose hands they end up in. Erica, as an attorney, I want you to tell us a little bit of what happens with this. I guess start with what happened with a grand jury indictment. What does that mean? And how does that then pit the state of Louisiana against the state of New York, Erica?
Yeah, so there are several ways that prosecution can bring charges against a person, an individual, and in this case, they did so by the grand jury indictment. They convened a grand jury, presented the evidence, and from what we see, the grand jury unanimously agreed that this woman, this doctor, should be charged. The doctor in New York should be charged, as well as the mom who secured and provided and coerced the daughter into having the abortion. So that's, a unanimous grand jury decision. That's pretty stunning. There must have been some pretty compelling evidence for that to happen. Now, of course, both have to stand trial. And, the mom will stand trial. She is a Louisiana resident, as far as we know. But our challenge right now is that we have a crime that has been committed in our state against one of our state citizens by an out-of-state actor who knowingly provided pills to a person in Louisiana without going through the proper processes of doing that through legitimate medicine. And we can talk in a minute about how this is not legitimate medicine in any way that you look at it. But she knew what she was doing, and she knew that she was sending them into a state where it was illegal. That there's a lot of compelling evidence out there that she should stand trial for. But in the state of New York, they have laws that shield doctors who knowingly break the law in other states. And basically their position is, we're not going to participate in your prosecution. If our doctor is in our state, we're not going to participate in it, which really goes against all, state comity and participation in each other's. There's constitutional requirements for states to give credit to the legal proceedings that take place in another state, and just none of that is happening here.
And Erica, I think
Yeah.
I read.
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I think I read too that this physician didn't have a license to practice in medicine in the state of Louisiana,
No,
which makes it all more
not.
egregious, right? It makes it all more egregious, right? Because they're talking about a patient-doctor relationship. This is between a patient and her doctor, right? But there was actually no patient involved. It was a physician that didn't have a licensure in Louisiana.
Exactly. And so on one hand, even if she were licensed in Louisiana, she committed grave malpractice in the way that she provided these pills. Like Ben mentioned, no checking on the pre-existing condition, no blood work, no confirmation of an actual pregnancy, no confirmation of gestational age, of other complications that need to be ruled out before providing this type of pill to anyone, whether it's illegal or not. So on that hand, even if she were licensed, she's still committed what most people would agree is medical malpractice. But on the other hand, she is not licensed to practice medicine in Louisiana, not physically in Louisiana, and not by telemedicine. And this is something she knows. I could see a potential argument. I wouldn't give weight to it, but I could see a potential argument that, this doctor was just, doing what she does and didn't know. This doctor knew. This doctor has founded and participates in organizations that teach other doctors how to structure their practices so that they can evade the laws of another state and get away with it. So she absolutely knew what she was doing, but you are correct. She was not licensed in Louisiana, so she had zero business providing care to anybody in Louisiana in this state.
Yeah, so Erica, now that an extradition request or order has been signed by Governor Landry, and that means that wherever this doctor goes, if she were to travel to a state that doesn't hide people who violate other states' law like New York does, that means she has a warrant out for her arrest in those other states. Is that a fair way to put it?
There's an active warrant that is in effect in all 50 states. So anywhere that she goes, she is susceptible to being arrested pursuant to the warrant. But in New York, they are digging in their heels, and they have passed laws contemplating this exact situation, knowing that they would have providers. And it's a stunning thing that the governor of New York even said when they passed this law, they passed it because they knew they would have providers who would still be sending pills into states where it's illegal. And so they wanted to protect their doctors who would be breaking the laws of another state. That's a shocking reason to pass a law to protect somebody in your state. We know that you're going to break the law in another state, and we are going to make it such that we legally cannot do anything to help you or help the other state to prosecute you for that. It's stunning.
Right. And all these, after this all came out, pro-abortion politicians around the country came to the defense of New York, and but they just totally avoided the conversation about and the topic that this is coerced abortion. This is a mother of a minor daughter who forced her to have the abortion, and that abortion pill that that doctor sent sight unseen was the tool that was used by a coercive person to coerce that minor to have this abortion. And I think that, to the District Attorney Tony Clayton's credit, to Attorney General Liz Murrow, Governor Landry, they've been, really banging that drum, saying that this is a coerced abortion. And the sad thing is, as the way I see it, that this situation it could even be worse in a sense. I mean, we think about the situation with, Senator Thomas Presley's sister that went through the last legislative session. Her ex-husband got the abortion pills, crushed them up, and put them in her water without her knowing that she was taking the abortion pills. Well, if that abortion doctor would have mailed them to him as well, he could have used an alias. So there's no way for her in New York, this abortion doctor, this abortion business, to know who is getting their abortion pills, because they're not checking, they're not trying to do any of that. It's egregious what they are doing, and they're putting women and certainly unborn babies, their lives, in danger. So just thinking about where we go from now, I guess, both of you, how does the future hold? We certainly don't know. New York's digging in their heels. Louisiana's put the extradition order out there. Where does this go from here?
Well, I want to jump back to what you said just a second ago. We can see, and we have seen this exact situation replicated in other situations that are just as disturbing. I want to be clear to everybody who might be listening. This is not an isolated incident. This is not the first time this is happening. It's happening every day, and we hear reports of this all the time. We're talking about, like you mentioned, an abusive partner who can do this to their pregnant partner. We're talking about abusive parents who can do this. We're talking about human traffickers who can so easily obtain these pills, cover up the evidence of their crime, and go on doing the other horrific crimes that they're doing in holding women hostage and keeping people in those abusive situations. So this is, in no way can you convince me that it is one sound medical practice to just send prescription drugs into another state without any follow-up, without any confirmation of who and what, and normal medical practice. But then also what we're really seeing is that this is a huge asset to abusers. This system is a huge asset to abusers, and that is something that we should all be very concerned about. Now, to answer your question, like, where do we go from here? I think we go to the Supreme Court. We'll see how that plays out. But, the Supreme Court has what's called original jurisdiction over disputes between the states. And so that's what we kind of have right here. We've got our state saying our law prevails, New York saying that their law prevails. And so I imagine that before too long, we will see this go straight to the Supreme Court, unless New York caves, or the doctor in New York submits herself, brings herself to stand trial, which she can certainly do and should do. But absent her willingness to do that on her own, the state of New York should be giving weight and deference to the prosecution of Louisiana, just like we do in other situations. Certainly if a New York prosecutor or a New York governor requests extradition of someone in our state who has committed a crime in New York, what we do and what happens all the time is that we send that person to the state where they have to stand trial for their crimes. So I imagine that we'll see this play out on a much larger scale, likely in the Supreme Court sooner than later.
Yeah, and
Sarah, any
yeah,
thoughts on that?
I would say on the education side of things, I think it's really important that everyone in Louisiana follow this case carefully, because what we're seeing in this case is exactly what we have known in the pro-life movement for years, which is that the abortion industry targets, unfortunately, vulnerable communities, whether that be because of economic reasons or race or whatever it might be. They target women in those situations because they're vulnerable, right? And unfortunately, the abortion industry's nefarious nature really comes out in this story, because in this case, of course, that abortion physician's only concerned about her bottom line. She's concerned about selling abortion pills, getting an income from that, not about the woman that she's actually, the minor that's actually going to be suffering from this experience. And this is very common with the abortion industry. They target women in situations like this. And this is something we're going to continue to see. And I think, as you mentioned, Presley's story, Ben, this is something I believe as time goes on, there are going to be cases like this, sadly, because women in these situations can easily be coerced into the abortion decision or forced into the abortion decision against their will. And that has nothing to do with what's they, so-called reproductive rights or someone caring for someone else. We're talking about someone who's essentially forced into the abortion decision, whether that's because they're given an ultimatum, whether that's because they've been told that they're going to be under some kind of physical threat to their life to choose abortion. But these are the kind of women that are unfortunately being the victims of the abortion industry. So we're going to continue to see education that needs to be pushed forward to inform the public about these dangers of the pills and the violence of abortion. So.
Absolutely. Erica, Sarah, thank you so much for your hard work and your great insight on this. And, I just want to encourage everybody to be thinking of, definitely, let's keep this young woman in our prayers, this young woman who was the victim of this crime, and just pray for her healing. I'm sure I can't imagine what she's going through and the pain she's going through. I also want everyone to keep encouraging our Governor Jeff Landry, Attorney General Liz Murrell, and District Attorney Tony Clayton, who've really stood up for this young woman and have stood up against the New York abortion industry. So I encourage you to reach out to their offices, those three elected officials, and just encourage them. Share that you're praying for them and that you're behind them and you support them. They need to hear our voices. So, everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. Check back to all of our channels across our social media and YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow us, and be on the lookout for more information on this case and a lot more other things. So, everybody, let's keep lighting the way to a pro-life Louisiana.